Hey guys, welcome to Pinterest in 10 minutes a day, where I am here to empower busy moms to take control of your online business with just 10 minutes a day of Pinterest marketing. Our goal is to teach you the ins and outs of do-it-yourself Pinterest marketing, share success stories, and provide actionable tips to help you grow your business. Get ready to learn how to make most of your limited time and resources to achieve big results. Let's dive in and start building your online presence today. Today, I am answering a question that was sent into the Pinterest Facebook group. Those of you who aren't in it, go ahead and check it out. It's a Woman on Pinterest on Facebook. Come find me in there and feel free to ask your questions. If some take a lot of answers, I'll totally answer them on this podcast training for you. Okay. So I'm going to read the question because there's just a lot in it. Okay. She says, I am struggling to stay consistent with scheduling pins because I get stuck in perfectionism, which I've been there too. We've all been there before. I have that stuck in perfectionism with having a different title, different caption, different link and image, and it takes a while to create them. I've been scheduling about 10 a day and I rotate between 5 topics, but I still haven't had much traction. What would you say is the most important thing when it comes to variety in your pins? How important is it to have fresh pins? Any tips or advice would be appreciated. Okay, so the first thing I want to dig into with that is when you've been consistent with scheduling and you say you haven't been seeing traction, is how long have you been on there? Because with a good profile setup, with keywords, that optimized profile and consistent pinning, it can still take up to 3, 6 months, 9 months to really start seeing traction, as some were called on Pinterest. And traction is a different term for everyone. It could be meaning getting pin clicks, website visits, email leads, or making money, okay, from those pins. So it's really hard to understand what we mean by traction, but I do need you to understand that Pinterest is a search engine. It's not a social platform. So it does take time for your optimized Pinterest profile to get into the system and start those pins getting out there more and more people. So if you've been consistent for about 2 months and you're about to give up on it, don't. Keep going for about 6 to 9 months and really you'll start seeing that traction take off. Okay, the second part is, what would you say is the most important thing when it comes to variety in your pins? And I think there are 4 things that you definitely want to add variety. So I teach clients in my signature program, the Pinterest Organic Growth Academy. I teach you to create 10 pins per one piece of content. So I do a blog post and a YouTube video and a podcast all at the same time, and I will create 10 pins to those different platforms. I am starting to create closer to 12 pins just because I have the templates and it's super easy to. But with that, you do want to add variety because you don't want the same thing coming over and over and over. So the very one thing I would say adding variety is headlines on the image. So if I'm creating 10 pins to one blog post, you want to have different headlines. You want to say different headlines on that pin image. You can definitely write the title of the blog post in a few of them, but come up with different ways that you could title the blog post, even though you didn't title it that way, okay? And you want to have different headlines on the pin image itself, okay? The second thing you want to add variety is actually the pin images themselves. I'm not going to do 12 pins of just me with my face on them. There'll be a couple pins with me, the product, the face of the company on there, right? There'll be a couple of pins of mom entrepreneurs. There might be some pins where it's just laptops or keyboards or that type of thing, okay? So you do want to add variety to the images themselves. Then the next thing you want to add variety is to the pin headlines. And I'm talking about the written pin headlines. You upload your pin image, but you still have to fill in your pin headline, your pin descriptions, and add in that URL link at least, okay? So having a variety of pin headlines. Now you can either A, have the same pin headline that you actually wrote on the pin image itself, or you can switch it up a bit and you have the headline on the pin image itself and kind of a sub headline or a different way to say that headline in the text version of the pin headline, okay? And then the fourth thing you want to add variety is the pin descriptions in writing. I never copy and paste those pin descriptions from one to the other, okay? It doesn't take a ton of time to write pin descriptions. It shouldn't take add a ton of stress or anything to it. I recommend writing 1 to 2 sentences that relate to that blog post, that relate to that video or that product, and then adding in a few of your top keywords in sentence form for your description. They don't have to be long, okay? But when you come up, and I teach this to my students in the POG Academy, POG stands for Pinterest Organic Growth. I teach you how to write descriptions, but they don't need to be hard. And you definitely don't want to be copy and pasting those descriptions over and over. When somebody pins a pin from your website, whatever the alt image is on that pin, that will be the same on every single pin somebody brings over from your website. But when you are adding new pins to the platform, you definitely want to change that description and have it different from pin to pin, which is why I encourage you to just kind of do it from the top of your head. And it really doesn't take that much time when you have a system and a strategy to writing those descriptions, okay? P.S. If you have a hard time filling in those big empty boxes that like the pin title, the pin description, not the URL, that should be easy, then I have a package, a product that I created, and it's called Viral Pins in a Box, and it is for you. It comes with 70 plus click-worthy pin headlines to get your creative juices going that stop the flow and motivate action of those pinners scrolling through Pinterest. It comes with descriptions of examples that convert to add those pin descriptions and 32 call to actions to get more engagement on your pins. So if you go to sharicemerrill.com/viral, VIRAL, you can get your own viral pins in a box and use the coupon podcast, all capital letters, podcast, and you'll get a discount for all of my amazing podcast listeners out there and YouTube watchers. Okay, if you know me, I always add an action step at the end of every podcast. And that is to entice you, encourage you to take action. Because if you aren't taking action with Pinterest and actively growing it, then you will most likely not be seeing that traction you want. It also helps you process the information you've learned and remember it when you act on it. So I encourage you to pick one of the 4 things listed to add variety to your pin. So if you do really good at writing in descriptions, but you always use the same written pin headline as the image pin headline, then maybe swap up that pin image headline. If you tend to use the same images over and over, try to do different images. Pick one of those 4 things I listed in this podcast to change when you're creating and adding fresh pins to change up that strategy, okay? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, email them over, comment them over, send them over. I would love for you to ask them, and I would love to answer them for you. And also, if you want to help another fellow entrepreneur out, I would love if you leave a review, like this video, share this post wherever you're at, and it helps me grow and create more content, and it helps me know what content you find valuable so I can keep creating content for you. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, or reading. Bye for now.